are listening to the number one real estate podcast in the world, where we talk with real estate professionals about their wins, losses, lessons, and stories, help you win in your local market today. My name is Cody from Sheridan Street. I'm joined with Shannon here today.
Hi.
And, I am so excited that we get the opportunity to have a conversation today just about her 20 years in the business and just her wins, her losses, her lessons, stories. And Shannon, I just want, before we kind of hop into it, why don't you give us like kind of high level overview on like kind of how you got into business, like maybe give us a little understanding of your backstory and kind of like how you got to where you are today in San Diego.
Yeah, I remember being a teenager and working various jobs, and I ended up working with a loan officer as an assistant. And I realized very quickly that there was a lot of volume going on. It was like the refi market back too long ago. We're not going to age myself that much, but
Yeah, sure.
I enjoyed understanding that people were like the process and having that background. So what I didn't enjoy was the numbers as much, and the fact that they could shop around. They didn't have to use I was like, realtors are making 3%, and once they go to contract, they can't shop the realtor around and find someone else, you know? And I just felt like real estate was more my niche. I love the creativity, the design, giving people what they want. And so I decided to really kind of delve into being a realtor.
Awesome. So, going back like 20 years, like, because like obviously you've gone through a ton of different market shifts and you've seen real estate, like, like now we're in 2023 and like we're now going through another market shift. Like, what are some things that you did early on in your real estate career that were kind of like the intangible things that allow you to kind of like manage the tenure of like a long actual career in real estate?
I think relationships are important. We have to foster and nurture people. Just because, it's oftentimes like, are you looking to buy or sell now? Well, yeah, they might be looking to buy or sell now, or we might come across like too salesy in our approach when we deal with people on a day-to-day basis. If I can't tell you how many times I've heard agents, and I've even had these losses where I'm like, oh my God, they used someone else to buy or sell a house. We're not understanding that it's not necessarily personal. We just have to be a little bit more engaged and nurture our sphere, our friends, the people we're around, and not just, are you looking to buy a house now? We're like, hey, I'm just touching in, wanted to, doing our quarterly calls or doing our things to just keep present and do it in a way that is not like, oh, hey, I'm a realtor, buy a house from me. Like, that's not how it works. So anything I could say is just to try to maintain relationships and not necessarily about what's in it for us, but about being a resource. Oh, you're doing a home remodel for your bathroom? I have some contractors I could refer you. Or, oh, what's going on? What's new with you? Here's a referral for this really great after school program, or things like that come across with adding value to them than, us just taking. So that I would say has helped me in that time frame.
I definitely agree that we share the same type of ethos around like providing value. And I consistently say that, like, if we could just, connect. And I was doing a podcast with with another gentleman earlier today, Justin, and he was talking about, just like networking with people in your local community and actually just being a resource and, creating content, but even just like more so sitting down and having coffee meetings with people and just being a part of your community is a massive, massive part of long-term sustainability, especially in a local market. Now, you are you, like, correct me if I'm wrong, are you a single agent now? Because you were on a team, so now you've got.
I'm still on a new team. I'm with the Oppenheim Group. We're a team in San Diego, but working in we're all solo agents that work underneath a hub. So we have a collaboration, we have a sense of connection and helping each other, but we are all kind of in our own independent little business.
Okay. So now, over like maybe walk us through kind of where you're at right now in business. Like you're kind of like it's because that sounds very different than a lot of other people that are kind of on teams where it's like they're fed leads. Like what are some things that real estate agents in a 2023 environment, because like there's no question in my head that like 2020 and 2021 were very, very different markets, like extremely different markets to what's really working now in 23. Like what are some things that you're doing now or some things that you're focusing on in 2023 that might have be things that you weren't necessarily doing in the kind of like a pandemic market versus like what you're doing now? Like what are kind of some of the focuses that you have for 2023?
I think let's be real. The last few years, it's been so crazy. Like everyone was like, there was offers everywhere. You're constantly busy, push, 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 trying to get deals done. It was a lot harder to get back to the basics. And I think that's what I'm working on now. Back to the basics, reinvesting in your business, finding niches and working to mastermind, take courses, do things. Skill set will always make those rise to the top. If you nurture your skill set, you nurture the role play, you nurture your craft, you will always, I think, proof your business against up and downs, because people will come to you and see that you actually have what they, you have the skill set to make it happen. And you're, personal and not personable and not like this salesy, used car salesman.
So like you could be, and 100%, like, it's like a lot of that is absolutely relationship is, being able to just have a conversation with somebody and actually be concerned with like how they're actually doing. And actually, like I say, actually giving a damn about people can go a long way in any profession, in any sales profession. Now, like, how do you do that? Like, it's like, I think that a lot of real estate agents that I speak with and a lot of, or even like real estate team leads, like even can run into this situation as well, where it's like, even though we know as salespeople that scripts for the most part work, they feel like slimy. They don't want to feel like they want to still build a relationship, but like we know that there's things that we need to say in order to get people to trust us. Like, how have you been able to do that? I know that you've worked with some really large teams and you're working with a really large team. Like, what are some things that an agent should be looking for potentially in a team, but what are some things that they should also be doing in order to level up their skills in a 2023 environment?
So I appreciate that you said, what should they be looking for in a team? Because if you are a solo agent and you are struggling or you are having some problems getting, your business with momentum, joining a team is a great way to get yourself to the next level. There's so much to glean when you surround yourself with other people who are doing what you want to do. There's no way that you can't also accomplish those things. So I think in role play specifically, because I will tell you, role play has helped. And agents, you start doing business, you're like, I don't have time for I'm doing deals, I'm doing business. Like, no, you got to always kind of keep that knife sharpened, because it's not like a salesy script. It's more of asking the right questions and and then listening, like being quiet and letting them speak. Now, you're going to know right away if you're talking to a driver and amiable, what type of personality trait that person is. But as you listen, you will be able to, it's like talking to a friend versus saying, oh yeah, like this is a sales call and I want something from you, click,
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say going back to the basics, finding ways. You don't have to overstretch yourself. A lot of times as agents, we think, oh, I got to do this and so is doing that. And, no, what do you enjoy in your business? Do you enjoy open houses? Are you good at it? Okay, well then put a plan, make the plan and focus on that. You don't have to stress yourself then putting all these systems in place of things that you're not necessarily wonderful at. If you are good at cold calling or calling and nurturing leads, okay, well then take the time to do that and really keep yourself accountable. Everyone has different niches and everyone has different things that they thrive at. If you're good at, door knocking, then go do the door knocking. Find what has given you results, try a little of the things, then focus on one thing in particular, because we tend to get bombarded. Okay, we get a new deal, a new client, we have to show. We have families and, our own lives. And then if it's too broad and we're trying to do too much, the balls start dropping, right?
Yeah.
If we can really hone in on what is income producing for us personally, then we can focus on that.
You brought up role playing, and it's something that I think maybe you agree, maybe you don't. I think the vast majority of like agents don't do that. I think a lot of agents that maybe have been on teams in the past or are currently like connected with teams, like are doing role playing. They are practicing their scripts. So it no longer feels like a script once like it actually like it becomes freely like how like what would you say to somebody that says like I don't need to practice, like I want it to freely flow. I like what
I'd
like
say you're losing business. You're losing business because yes, one thing I will say about what you're saying is there is a script, but no one's reading it. I'm not, you shouldn't be reading a script when you're talking to people. You should have a pinpointed type of question that you're asking about the property. There are certain questions that you can ask, like, paint me the picture, tell me more about that. What caught your eye about this specific property? Have you been looking for a while? Little questions that we can ask that are openers and that let them speak and share about what they're looking for. That is just conversational and not super scripty. And you're listening and trying to give them what they want. That being said, as the conversation goes on, they're going to say things that are going to come up as objections. And in a normal conversation, if you don't practice those, then what happens? Oh, I'll talk to my husband. I'll get back to you. I don't know if I can see such and such street, or, I don't have time today, like maybe next week. If you're not understanding what these little objections are and how to combat them, then literally it goes cold. Then, the lead is lost, and you've got to keep that momentum going.
I love that. I love the frame and the step-by-step process. It's always fun, like having conversations with the real estate agents that like get it, that understand that real estate is absolutely a sales profession, and it's a relationship business, but it's a sales profession. Sales is relationship. You'd mentioned something earlier that was really interesting to me. You said like how I speak to a driver is different than how I speak to, somebody that might be compliant. It kind of sounds like you have a good understanding of like DISC assessments. Like
right.
how did you learn these things? Like who did you learn them from? And like what do you recommend from a sales perspective for real estate agents that are maybe new in the business, or even real estate agents that might be out there being like, you know what, I do need to up-level my skill. Like what resources do you think that they should be looking for in order to up-level their skill this year?
Well, I think that, understanding who you're talking to is important. If you're talking to someone who's very analytical, an engineer or an attorney, and you're just like, oh, well, like, what did you love about it? And they're going to be like, love? Like, no, what's the numbers? Like, how big is this? Can you give me the dimensions for this room? And I need to know what the rates are. You have to be able to speak at the level of what your client is, and understanding, like you said, just profile, or just understanding the type of person. If they're talking very short and they're like they're going to be a driver and they're like, nope, this is what I want. You want to give them that, but you can't let them own the conversation either. You've got to push a little too and be a driver back. So there are different ways to manage those different personality types. And I think that kind of role play, Sharon, if you want to download some of Sharon's amazing videos. And then, Dean, my Dean and Afro they were on the team. I learned so much just role playing and understanding that. And I would tell all agents, like, go look it up, listen to these podcasts, listen to these things, nurture your business. And then, taking the time to really understand how, if you're not thinking outside of the box, or you're not trying to keep the momentum going, then people go cold. People don't, oh, well, maybe next week. And then it's like you're chasing around in a circle looking for the client again. But if you're getting a lead or you're talking to somebody and they're motivated, then you need to match that motivation level, get excited for them. Are they a first-time buyer? Whatever their situation is, if you can engage them and offer value. My other thing is, I would get calls sometimes and people would be like, okay, well, what's this? What's that? What's the HOA? Does the HOA allow this? They're asking all these particular questions. And as agents, we want to be like, oh, I know the answer. I know the answer, right? But once they have the answers, then what?
Yeah.
So if you can say, I know the answer to this. Let me get back to you. I'm gonna find out about this and that. Let's meet at the property. Then you're now in front of them to dangle a carrot, to give them something that they need. And if you just give it to them right away all the time, you're not adding value, and you're just basically a door opener, another talking head, another person. Whereas if you build the connection and rapport and you listen to what they're asking and maybe don't give it all away, is what I'm saying. Hey, when we meet at 4:00 today, I'll make sure to bring all that information for you. It gives them a reason, not just to open the door, but to have their questions answered. I mean, don't be vague, don't be awful, but
Yeah,
don't know something.
Yeah, and I love you brought up Sharon and Dean. Sharon says all the time, like, you're 10 times more likely to actually get the client if you just meet with them in person. It's like so many people just like we're in a totally different market now, like where it's like people do want to meet in person. Like you can go to a coffee shop. Like it's a different market than it was in 2020. It's like you said earlier, getting back to the basics was a really big focus for you this year. Now, closing up with this, the top 3 things that you as an agent are focused on this year that are going to help you grow your business. Like, what are those top 3 things you're focused on this year?
So when I say get back to the basics, I'm a very dynamic personality. Sometimes it's harder for me to have these strategies and focus on some of the more systems, right? The systems in place that we need. And I think that you have to have solid systems and you have to have a solid plan. Even if it's simple, as long as you can execute it, it's important. So I think for me, just kind of focusing in, tightening in on my business, that's going to be really key. I think, doing what I like and doing it well, like finding the things, the things that are income producing, and really gauging my time and investing back into that. As agents, we need to do that. Find your strength, invest back in it, and don't get too bombarded with everything else. Focus on what is income producing and what you actually, and hold yourself accountable, to that. And then 3, nurturing past relationships and building new relationships. Find if you want to do, trust sales, or you want more listings, find ways to get yourself in front of opportunities to be around CPAs, attorneys, whatever, if that's what you're looking for. But whatever that is, it could be a lot bigger. Okay, you want to do more community events. You want to, do other things to get yourself in front of people. Take the time, make the effort, and build that community. So those are the 3 things that I'm kind of working on this year.
Shannon, I just want to say thank you more than anything. I just love I love that we share the same type of ethos to business, to life, just like wanting to help people. And, it's like, and I'm hearing a lot of everything works. It's just a matter of time, skill, and volume, and actually putting in the work and just getting clarity more than anything around what's important to you and how you're going to get to kind of your goals. So I just want to say thank you to the bottom of my heart. If somebody were to want to reach out to you and want to have a conversation with you about real estate, maybe it's an agent to agent referral, maybe it's another agent in San Diego that wants to kind of glean some insight around what you're doing in the market, where's kind of the best place that they can reach out to you?
Absolutely. My email is shannon@ogroup.com. And they're more than welcome to reach out on my cell if they are in San Diego, or, an email would be great. They can also follow me on Instagram at swilliamslee and message me there, and I'd love that.
Shannon, I want to say thank you. And I want to say thank you for tuning into another episode of the RE Agent Podcast. We'll see you soon.